Hi, MBJB listeners. In honor of International Day of the Girl, which is on October 11th, No Boxes, Just Verses presents Verses in Service, a leadership miniseries. This is a special 7-part episode series that will run through October 23rd. And across this miniseries, you'll hear from many extraordinary women, from tech innovators, culture leaders and icons, educators, filmmakers, cybersecurity and AI experts, legal and governance leaders, and community builders. Their story is a masterclass in service-driven leadership, mentorship that multiplies opportunity, purpose that outlasts titles and boxes, and community that lifts the next generation. So we're marking this day, this moment, by amplifying the voices that open the doors for girls everywhere. I hope you enjoy this special. This is Verses in Service. Welcome to No Boxes, Just Verses, the podcast where we go beyond the bios, beyond the titles, and we explore the lessons and the journeys of today's most inspiring leaders, all through the songs that have shaped the soundtrack of their life. Each week, we bring you these inspiring leaders, and we focus on 5 lessons, 5 songs, and 1 unforgettable playlist.
Let's put the pedal to the metal, let the top lean back. I don't know where we're going, I don't know what we're running to. I'm checking for you, how you feel about that. I think it's time we rendezvous.
And today I have such the honor and the pleasure of welcoming a dear friend of mine, a sorority sister, a fellow documentary filmmaker. It's the one, the only Kelly Richmond Pope. Kelly, welcome to No Boxes, Just Verses.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is so fun to have you here. We have so much in common. I show our listeners we're both CPAs who have made documentary films.
Which is very rare. When you think about the number of African-American female CPAs, there's not a lot of us.
That's true. It's a pretty low number.
Under 7,000, under 8,000?
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe lower than that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the documentary film, which we'll get into, that we share that passion. And just filmmaking, period, and storytelling and books and all that. Like the fact that we share that is really interesting. That right brain, left brain stuff is kind of pretty unique. So I can't wait to dive into all of that with our listeners. So before we get into any of that, I'm going to read your amazing background. I'm going to brag on you a little bit.
All right.
All right. And definitely we have to start with, I should have said this, Dr. Kelly Richmond Pope. Because you earned that doctor, girl.
Thank you.
We got to give it to you. Dr. Pope is a nationally recognized expert in risk, corporate governance, and audit practices. Dr. Pope provides insight across the audit, nominating governance, and compensation committees, processing a unique capability to synthesize and distill complex issues. She is what's called a qualified financial expert. She is a key advisor and consultant to executives and senior leadership teams. She is a published author and a frequent media contributor on many preferred approaches for fraud, risk, and management. We're going to get into that fraud, risk, and management stuff, including she's been on C-SPAN, CNBC, BBC, and local TV, all kinds of stuff. You're definitely a globally known expert. Your book, Fool Me Once, Scams, Stories, and Secrets from the Trillion-Dollar Fraud Industry, was published by the Harvard Business Review Press and was recognized as one of the 15 best business books of 2023 by Inc. magazine. Fool Me Once serves as an indispensable resource in boardrooms and senior leadership teams, offering insights into governance and risk management best practices for organizations globally. And we're going to get into Fool Me Once. Why you did it is a really crazy story, by the way. But what made you even want to tell that story, how you did it, and kind of what happened from there. But before we do any of that, we got to go back to where it all started. A young Kelly. Where did she grow up? Where did she get her inspiration in her young adulthood? Where did she go to college? Just help us package all that. The song that you picked, I love this song. It's by the Clark sisters, and it's called You Brought the Sunshine.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am originally from Durham, North Carolina, so you might hear my Southern accent every now and then. I grew up in Durham. I was born in Washington, D.C., And where it started, where I got my inspiration from was home. My parents were really my foundation. On the weekends, of course, Saturday morning, you start cleaning your room, clean up before you can go outside and play in the neighborhood. But my parents would always fill the house with gospel music on Saturday and Sunday. I remember my dad always loving the Clark sisters and just blasting it. And it makes me smile. So I grew up in Durham, went to North Carolina A&T State University for undergrad. And when I graduated from college in 1996, my mother died. Just all of a sudden, she died from breast cancer. And when that song just came into it was a very low moment in my life. And, I'm 22.
Yeah.
And I don't have a mother anymore.
Yeah.
And so that song just grounded me. And I think when you think about just my playlist and all of the music that really just inspires me, I go back to those roots of gospel, not only because of just it playing through the house, but at an early age, I faced so much sadness. And that sort of laid the foundation for a lot of things. So a lot of my songs are just something that's of inspiration. It's not about traveling or it's not about food. And I am married. It's not even about love. It's about like how to get through really tough times.
This was kind of that fabric of your life because you were always a driven person. Clearly, I mean, CPA, got your doctorate, professor, you teach accounting and fraud, risk, and all those type of things. So you always were like smart and driven, but life lifed. And so you also had this fabric, and the music you listened to was about persevering.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about things that like death, and that can derail you. Like you can be on this path, you can be smart, you can be driven, but those kind of things like losing a parent, losing your mother, father, that can just sort of rattle you. And everybody doesn't recover from that. So a lot of the music that I really needed for a long part of my life was about really resilience.
And, you kind of had to, like you said, be resilient because you mentioned that kind of happened in 96. Now, like, when do you start working on your PhD?
So I graduated from A&T Mother's Day of 1996, and my mother was there. By July 1st of 1996, my mother had died.
Wow.
And so she kept her breast cancer, didn't tell anybody. So she never had treatment. She just died. So that on its own was traumatic. So I graduated from A&T. Unlike most people, I went straight to
You went
school.
straight through
I went
for your
straight,
doctorate.
I did. And that's unusual because you might have some people that went straight to law school, but most people don't go and get their PhD. A lot of people work first.
That's right.
And so I was a very, very young PhD student in the business school because everybody else, I'm 22, 23, and everyone else is 45.
In their 40s,
Yeah. So it's just a very weird place for me. So the people in my program almost became like my parents, like my mother. Like I remember Frida McBride, she was an older woman. And she would cook on Sundays, and she just sort of reminded me of a mother figure, but she was a fellow colleague in the PhD program. So I was in the PhD program, graduated with my PhD. My first job out of my program was at UNC Greensboro, where I was a professor, an accounting professor.
Well, it's interesting because that stage of your life, that kind of takes us to that next stage of like you finishing your PhD and starting to work. You said you still like the Clark sisters because we'll talk about you actually still have something else to go through at a very young age. But you picked I'm Every Woman. And so I wanted to ask, Chaka Khan or Whitney? Because it's two versions.
Oh, that's a tough
I know, but you got, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan.
Okay, so I feel like the listeners, if I don't say Chaka Khan, I'm going to get my black card revoked. But Whitney, when Whitney died, oh my God. I mean, Whitney's voice just does something to you. Like it goes to your bones. Every song. So I'm going to say Whitney.
You're going to say the Whitney version. To be fair to the Whitney version, she does thank Chaka Khan in her version at the end. She does. She thanks Chaka.
But the Whitney version just, it just moves me, And I think that women are just so powerful, so beautiful, so relevant. So that song just really just makes me feel like I'm stronger than I ever
So listeners, Kelly said that. I'm going to go with Chaka so y'all don't send me hate mail. Thank you very much.
Okay. You're Chaka.
I'm gonna say Chaka. So
right.
I don't want them sending me hate mail. But you also were going, you really kind of were every woman. And so to me, that's a song of resilience because during that time, you also lost your father.
I did. My father passed away from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma about 3 years after my mom. And so my parents were married 37 years. So, we were very close, and just, I couldn't imagine. Like, I did not know how I was going to get up the next day. So a lot of my 20s was a lot of sorrow and just like rebuilding and finding who I'm going to be. Like, okay, I'm too young to give up. So how do I keep going? So I think it really reshaped how I work and how I think, how I move.
It's interesting because you, again, at a very young age, you had to really navigate this world knowing that the two people that were your safety net were no longer there for you. And you had to really develop a new safety net and a new type of family unit. I mean, obviously you had your extended family, but like, your parents were no longer there. You also mentioned during this period, rap was being a big thing. And I think this is a song that carried you through, because we'll talk about how you get to later on in life, like I said, doing movies and things like that. But Paid in Full by Eric B. and Rakim. I mean, I love that song. I came through the door. I said it before. I never let the mic magnetize me anymore. It's biting me.
No, there's two reasons behind this song. I'm not going to finish the lyrics.
Oh, she didn't finish the lyrics for me.
There's a reason. No, I know you're giving me like, the reason I love that song is because I met my husband, and that was one of his favorite songs.
Oh.
And I thought he was, when we first met, we met at Virginia Tech, where I went to graduate school. And
unfortunately, she went to Virginia Tech. Here we go. Unfortunately, listen, everybody came.
My brother-in-law went to UVA, so I'll give you that.
Okay, give me that one.
So he loved Eric B. and Rakim. And I thought he was, at the time when I met him, I thought, oh my God, he's so cool. He's so handsome. I'm going to like everything he likes. And he loved that song. So it's just a very fun time because
it's fun.
Yeah. And he loves music. And so it's interesting how music has played a role, because I've always looked at it as a source of inspiration. But because I'm an academic first, I'm always in a space where I have to think, and I'm a person that I have to think in quiet. So I work out to music, I run to music, but when I have to think, I have to do it in silence. So I always pulled a lot of my musical inspiration from my husband.
I love that. And so you guys met like school or?
Met in graduate school. We were actually at the gym. And I was working out, he was working out, and he asked this group of people that I was working out with to spot him. And I said, why you ask me to spot him? Do I look weak? And that is just sort of how,
That's how
it's cute.
And you thought
you shot your shot. That's right.
You went for your shot. And apparently it worked.
It worked. Yeah.
Now you're done with the PhD and you're teaching, and you're doing that for a number of years, right? And then something changes in your trajectory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so help us understand what that
changed.
Yeah.
So when I finished my program, I was a assistant professor at UNC Greensboro for 4 years.
Okay.
And my husband was finishing his MBA at UNC Chapel Hill. And I knew we were going to transition and leave the North Carolina area. So I said, this would be a good time for me to do something different. And I had this bright idea that I wanted to go and work in corporate America, because I'd been in academia my whole life. And I said, it'd be neat to like finally go, I'm going to go work for one of the big 4 accounting firms. That sounds like a great idea, right?
And you went to?
So I went to work at KPMG. But
Shout out to KPMG, because I worked there too.
I didn't know that.
Yes. I mean, that was back in the day. I mean, at the time, I feel like it was like the Big 10. It's like the Big 4 now. I'm not going to date us, but I guess I kind of did. But we both at KPMG, and I want to know, like, how did you even begin working like in public accounting?
I had this crazy idea, and I called a partner that I knew and said, hey, my husband's finishing business school. We're moving to Chicago. I want to work at KPMG. What do I need to do? He's like, oh, great. We'll take you, but you need to be a CPA. Wow. And I said, say what? Like, what? I have a PhD in accounting. I have a master's in accounting. I've been a professor for 4 years. And you're telling me that that's still not enough. Wow. And so that was my first real lesson of understanding that you can do all these things and still never be enough.
Wow.
And so I started studying for the CPA exam. I did.
You just started studying?
Yeah. I mean, this is 10 years after I had finished undergrad. So I had to study all those things, because the idea was, you would think if you have a PhD in accounting, it should be easy. But a PhD is a research degree. So I'm not studying accounting. I'm learning how to do accounting research.
I see.
So it's not like all the tax code, all the auditing principles are top of mind. Like, It's not actually. So I had to restudy all that. I was a Becker student.
Right. And that's one of the preparation courses. Is Becker.
Yes.
I took the Becker as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So shout out to Becker. And I'm one of the Becker national instructors too now.
Right.
So I took the exam, passed, and went to work for KPMG and realized that the classroom was my home. So
really? So you did all of that. You passed the CPA exam, which I need our listeners to understand, especially back then. It's not like it is now. Not only is it a lot of work, not only is the pass rate fairly low from passing all the parts, you can't break up taking all the parts like you can now. You got to take that whole thing like in one shot.
2 days.
2 days. And I know when I took it, we were like, it wasn't online. Like you actually sat in this big auditorium with a whole bunch of people.
That's right.
With these little like bubble Scantron sheets. And like,
That's right.
So it was a whole ordeal. So you did all of that. You go to work.
Did all that.
Okay.
Go
How
to work.
long do you go work at
So
KPMG?
here's the thing. I did all that, passed exam, was going to work, and realized I was pregnant. That's what.
Life is lifing.
So I had to call KPMG and say, well, I'm coming to work, but in about 4 months, I'm going to have to leave work and go on leave because I'm having a baby. And they're like, oh, wonderful.
Oh, wow.
But I left this academic job that I had ultimate flexibility to go into this corporate environment where it's 9 to 6, 9 to 7, 9 to whenever that you have busy season, and I have a newborn. So that was the moment that I said, okay, I need to go back to higher education and just figure it out. Like figure out what is my voice, what I want to do. So I went back to higher ed, went back to academia, and never looked back, but did some different pivots within my academic career that one might think is unusual, but I've really enjoyed the career that I've built, which is very different than a lot of academics.
Well, yeah, you definitely set yourself apart. So let's talk about a little bit about the navigating, and we're going to get to, like I said, documentary filmmaking. So you go back and you're teaching, but help me understand how that all starts getting born for you to work on documentaries, to start, because I know you started tech companies and all those things. One of the songs that you kind of picked was Never Would Have Made It by Donnie McClurkin.
Yeah, that song, when I hear it, it always makes me pause. And I think, I feel like it makes everyone pause because it just it makes you just reflective of where I am now. How did I get here?
Yes.
Where am I going?
Right.
You know, and what's the village? What's the spiritual village? What got me here? Where am I going? So that song just stops me in my tracks, you know, and the words are just so powerful. And again, it was at a moment where I just needed to figure it out. I mean, I thought I was going to start a new career in public accounting. I decided I'm not. I'm going back to higher education. I got to figure this out. I have a newborn. I don't have my parents. I don't have any family in the Chicagoland area. I got to figure all this stuff out. So that song just sort of grounds me and sort of gives me strength. And I think as you look at my playlist, it's really about finding strength, you know, and I just needed it because I felt like, yes, I have a husband and a dog, but but just finding that inner strength is sometimes hard. And so that type of music has always done it for me. So when I was in my PhD program, forensic accounting, white collar crime, and fraud were my research areas. So again, when you're in a PhD program, you're learning how to ask a question and then do the research around the question. Fraud, I loved it. I mean, it was just that area that it's a mix of accounting, auditing, criminology, sociology, and just a dash of nosiness if you're nosy.
Right.
And so that was my thing. Like when I started reading about cases and just how money impacted all of these cases, no matter whether it was a murder, gambling situation, like it just spoke to me. So that's my core. That's my core research. That's what I write about. That's what my book is about. That's what my documentary is about.
But how do we even get to turning that into a documentary? Because I know at that time in life, because we have similarly aged kids, I was definitely the person running. I'd be feeding the baby at 2 a.m. and it would be like boom, boom. I'd be watching all the Law and Orders. Like I've watched, like a lot of people, Law and Order on repeat 1,000,000 times.
Right.
What is it that decides that you're going to do something and have action outside of just doing like a research, like paper on it?
So being an academic is a very isolating role. And you could spend 3 or 4 years working on an academic paper to get published, and maybe 20 people read it. And that's a lot of time for very low output. So I'm thinking to myself, how can I do research in the area that I love that's still teaching people something, but I can scale it? And that's really how documentary filmmaking came into play, because it's very educational, but entertaining at the same time. So I just love the art and the science of it coming together. And when you think about true crime as a genre, it's like the biggest thing. I mean, you can't find anybody that just doesn't get just pulled into a true crime story.
Right.
So I looked at true crime as a way to explain accounting in a more engaging way that everybody would be interested in. You know, if I say, do you want to talk about the accounting equation? People want to look at you like you're crazy. But if I say, do you want to talk about how that woman stole that money and hid it in the financial statements? Let me talk to you about that.
Yeah.
And so true crime was my avenue to really pull people in. The idea of doing a documentary came from thinking about how to scale my research in a more consumable way to the public.
But like, how did you even go about saying, you had the idea, but how did you go about to making that action? And as a professor, like, did you have to also like work with your school? Like, did they have to get involved in this? Like, how did you even know how to put together? I mean, I've made movies, so I know it's literally putting together a whole little company almost and managing that company and then like disbanding the company, right? It's kind of like that type of thing. How did you know how to even do any of that?
So I'm going to go back to when I was in 4th grade.
Okay.
Kelly, as a 4th grader, used to write plays. I was the writer, producer, director of all the plays in the class.
Okay.
So I have always been this kind of creative little person.
Okay.
And it just sort of grew. So what I did is I did a film fellowship program with an organization called Cartemquin Films.
Okay.
And this was almost a 12-month program, and they taught you everything. And they taught you how to take that story, and they paired you with DPs, sound engineers, graphic artists. And so I looked at that process. It's very similar to a research paper. What's your research question, or what's your log line? Who are you going to talk to help either support or refute whatever it is that your film is about? So it's very similar. The documentary filmmaking process was very similar to writing a paper. So the skills were very transferable. So once I did that film fellowship program, I already had this idea that I wanted to do a film about the Rita Crunwell case.
Yeah, and let's get into this first case that really set it off for you.
So my documentary is called All the Queen's Horses, and you can get it on Amazon Prime if you want to.
Amazon Prime, y'all.
But it's about the largest municipal fraud in U.S. history. And the city comptroller, ex-city comptroller of Dixon, Illinois, embezzled $53.7 million over 20 years.
$53 million?
And nobody knew it. And so that story was, I mean, it's just a crazy story. She was one of the #1 quarter horse breeders in the country. But I will tell you that everybody can maybe look at their lives and say, what was that career-changing moment for you?
Yeah.
Doing this documentary was the career-changing moment for me. My book is about it. My speaking engagements are about it. My training sessions with corporations are about it. My classes that I teach are about it. Podcasts that I've done are about it.
Yeah.
Everything came from that. So I never would have thought it would be as big as it became, but so much came from doing All the Queen's Horses. And it really changed my life.
I mean, what I will say, it's such a fascinating story. And I love how you have taken these, amazing accounting concepts, but you've brought them to light for the masses to show, here is why we have checks and balances in accounting. Here is how fraud works, but here is how you could have stopped it. Because my understanding, I mean, I've seen the movie, I've read your book, and so I'll try to distill it and you help me out here. But my understanding is it's the basic, the person paying the money and the person bringing in the money shouldn't be the same people. It's kind of that basic.
Is that basic?
If they are, if I'm bringing in the money and I'm paying it out, if I want to be dishonest,
You can.
guess what? I can, because I'm the only one who really knows what came in and I know what went out. And I can tell you any old thing.
That's exactly right.
Because I control all the marbles.
You just explained fraud 101.
Seems basic, but I mean, to this day, I'm sure you get calls all the time. How many companies, small organizations, even large organizations still don't have these checks and balances. Tons, right?
And there's one reason why, and it's called trust.
It's called trust.
We trust people. And it's just what we innately do.
Yeah.
We trust people so we don't have internal controls or don't have proper internal controls. So it's really easy to steal.
This lady's case, they lived in a relatively small town, for what I understand, and she bought like some crazy big house and was living really large. And it was like she was making like $80,000 a year.
Absolutely.
But she had this side hustle, and people knew about her side hustle, like with these horses.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just thought that like she was making really her money from the horses. But my understanding, I have a very little understanding of like that horse business, is that you don't really make a lot of money in that business. That business is more like a glorified hobby. People spend more money than make money in that business. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll be lucky if you get a trophy. What's your trophy worth? $3. Wow. But, so it's not there was no winnings that she was living off of. It's not like she won the lottery,
Right.
So, yeah, so it's just a great story, but it changed my career so much.
Wow.
And so just having I guess I wish I could have the foresight of knowing the next project like that.
Right.
But, so when you think about some of the songs like Paid in Full, it's sort of funny that fraud and white collar crime and forensic accounting are my areas.
Right.
And that's one of my songs.
One of your songs.
Because when I was younger, I remember I loved money. Like my parents would give me my allowance. I would iron my dollars on the ironing board. Because I wanted them crisp. Yes.
Which is so funny because, our kids and younger people listening to this are like, wait, what? You had dollars?
Yeah.
Because ours is on our phone.
No. Dollars, wow. I wanted them crisp so I can put them in like the machine to get some soda or some chips.
That's cool.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Your song could have been For the Love of Money.
By the OJ. We should add
that to the list. For the Love of Money.
Yes. Right. So that was me. So I've always been fascinated with just like the transactions.
Yeah. You can definitely tell that has woven through your career. Kelly, we're gonna wrap it up and go to kind of where you are today. You've had this successful career as a professor, a documentary filmmaker, an author, a public speaker. You're now on a corporate board. Mm-hmm. And so you've accomplished so much. Like, what's next? And it's interesting because the song that you picked for this season of your life is Big by Pastor Mike.
Yes. And there's a line in the song. It says something about God's going to open up the window and pour out the blessings.
Yeah.
When I hear that, I'm just like, when is my window going to open?
When is my
open? No, I feel like it's open.
It has opening.
Like,
I agree.
In 2019, I started a company with my partner, Ronnie Jackson. We started an ed tech company called Red Flag Mania, which uses true crime stories to teach and train professionals and students about accounting, auditing, fraud. We have some nursing courses, computer science courses, IT courses, but really using storytelling as a basis to teach. And so if you think about it, it sort of is a full circle moment of all the things that I like to do.
That's right.
But rooted in accounting because everybody needs it.
That's right.
So hopefully the company keeps growing. We're getting some pretty big clients now. So yeah, so Red Flag Mania, that's my life. I'm still teaching because I am a endowed full professor at my university.
So, right. And so people can understand being an endowed professor, like you've gotten to the top there.
Yeah. So assistant, associate, and full professor. And then you can be an endowed professor. And so there's a handful of Black women around the country that are that. So I'm never going to leave that.
Right.
I'll always do other things, but that's sort of my core that I wouldn't just walk away from that.
Well, Kelly, we've had so much fun talking to you. At this segment of the show, I like to really ask my guests to tell our listeners what you're working on now, how we can support you, how we can find you. And then I ask for one song that just makes you happy. It doesn't have to relate to anything, any time period. You just hear the song and you smile.
Okay. So what I'm working on now is just head down trying to get this startup to keep starting.
Okay.
So Red Flag Mania has become my life. And so hopefully that keeps growing. You can find me on LinkedIn or social handles, just Kelly R. Pope, just my name. And I post to LinkedIn pretty frequently. I'm not a good Instagrammer yet because I have to be inspired. Like, I feel like I don't want to just take a picture of my food. I don't want to just do that. So you're really good at your storytelling and your reels. Like, I am with you because I feel like I'm traveling with you and you're good at that. So maybe you can teach me how to do that.
I sure can.
And then a song that makes me smile. I'm trying not to just be like singing all these gospel songs. But I'll tell you who makes me laugh is when I see a Kirk Franklin video. I see him dance.
So okay, we'll go with Stomp.
Oh, Stomp's good.
Stomp. I mean, you can't, like, when you hear it makes me wanna stomp, like, you smile, makes me clap my hand.
That's right. But I'll tell you when you ask me like that one song, and I don't know if you're a Peloton person.
I'm a Zumba person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I do it every day.
Okay.
So I have 5-6 songs in my head. And when I hear them, they make me go faster. So a lot of times when I hear like a Young Jeezy song, like when I hear him, I can go faster. When I hear Blow the Whistle.
Okay, we're going to go with that one. On that note, because, living in the Bay Area, what's my favorite word is like our anthem. I know that the Philly and the Eagles folks try to take that, but it really originated in the Bay.
That song makes me smile. That song makes me
go with that.
So we take that one.
So Kelly, we're going to do a quick recap of all your songs for our listeners and the Kelly Richmond Pope playlist. First, we have the Clark Sisters, You Brought the Sunshine. Next up, we have I'm Every Woman, the Whitney Houston version of the song. Next, we have Paid in Full by Eric B. and Rakim. After that, we have Never Would Have Made It by Donnie McClurkin. Your last song was Big by Pastor Mike. And our bonus song is What's My Favorite Word, also known as Blow the Whistle by Too Short. Kelly, it has been a pleasure having you on No Boxes, Just Verses. And I have a question, not a question, I have an ask.
Yes.
Can we agree as two female Black CPAs who worked at KPMG, who have made documentary films, to actually work on a project together? Let's bring something out to the masses. It could be a doc, it could be scripted, but let's agree that we will, I'm going to put a time on it.
Okay.
In the next couple of years, we will be coming back to our listeners with our joint projects. Can we agree to do that?
We can agree. Absolutely.
You heard it here.
You heard it here.
Right here on No Boxes, Just Verses. That she said we're going to do something.
That means we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
All right.
We're going to do it.
Thanks for having me. It's so much fun.
Coming. It's been a pleasure. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to No Boxes, Just Verses. And if this episode moved y'all, please share it, rate us, follow the show on your favorite platform, and we can keep building our leadership playlists together. So you can find me, guys, on Instagram as Shannon Nash 1 and No Boxes, Just Verses on Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Shannon Nash ESQ CPA. You can also find No Boxes, Just Verses on LinkedIn. You can visit our website at noboxesjustverses.com. Finally, don't forget to check out the show notes. The show notes are super important because this is where the playlists will live. You will be able to get these playlists on Apple and Spotify. You'll also be able to follow up and see how to reach out to the guests, follow them, and support them. Until next time, I need you to stay unboxed. You come for the stories, but you stay for the playlists. I'm Shannon Nash, and I'm out.